Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it. It began with the forging of the great rings. 3 were given to the elves, immortal, wisest and fairest of all beings. 7 to the dwarf lords, great miners and craftsmen of the mountain halls. And 9 rings were gifted to the race of men, who above all else desire power.
The sad truth is that man's real life consists of a complex of inexorable opposites, day and night, birth and death, happiness and misery, good and evil. We are not even sure that one will prevail over the other, that good will overcome evil or joy defeat pain. Life is a battleground, it always has been and always will be.
A new power is rising. Its victory is at hand.
In the rings that are given out to the races of Middle-earth, we find the archetypical power structure. It's a hierarchy in the form of a pyramid. It's a structure that's being used in every government institution and specifically by totalitarian systems in autocratic societies. In the books, when the hobbits return to the Shire, they also find this structure. A nascent secret police, a remote and autocratic bureaucracy, centralized and collectivized control of the economy, a concentration camp in its infancy, all hallmarks of a contemporary totalitarian regime. These elements suggest that Tolkien intends his readers to make some connection between the world he has created and the world the reader inhabits. We all have learned about the regime of Germany in the 1930s and 1940s. What can happen when a person gets unlimited power over the social structures of society? We are telling ourselves that we must be vigilant to never let something like that happen again, but how does something like that happen? One set of people have suggested, another set have proposed, a third have reported, a fourth have decided, a fifth have confirmed, a sixth have given the order, and a seventh set of men have carried it out.
Power resides where men believe it resides. It's a trick, a shadow on the wall.
At the bottom of the social scale, soldiers armed with guns, pistols and sabers injure and murder people and compel men through these means to enter the army and are absolutely convinced that the responsibility for the actions rests solely on the officers who command them. At the top of the scale, the Tsars, presidents, ministers and parliaments decree these tortures and murders and military conscription, and are fully convinced that since they are either placed in authority by the grace of God or by the society they govern, which demands such decrees from them, they cannot be held responsible. The authority who gives the orders and the authority who executes them at the two extreme ends of the state organization meet together like the two ends of a ring. They support and rest on one another and enclose all that lies within the ring.
You loved the power you had over them. You fed the darkness inside you.
The signs of totalitarianism in the post-Christian world seem to get closer and closer, and for the few who are noticing, it seems as if the world has gone insane, but most people remain willfully blind and unconscious of the matter. They see but don't look and hear but don't listen. No thoughts, feelings or intuitions towards the possibility of hell being unleashed once again on the peoples of the world, even though it's a recurring theme in the history of mankind.
The race of men is failing. The blood of Numenor is all but spent, its pride and dignity forgotten. It is because of men the ring survives.
Whether primitive or not, mankind always stands on the brink of actions it performs itself, but does not control. The whole world wants peace and the whole world prepares for war, to take but one example. Mankind is powerless against mankind, and the gods as ever show it the ways of fate.
A new order will rise. We will drive the machine of war.
We are governing ourselves with science and its assumptions, knowledge and reason. In the beginning of the 20th century, people thought just like that. They considered themselves enlightened and thought the world could be run on reason alone. Lucifer, the spirit of reason, was the most wondrous angel brought forth from the void by God. Reason is something alive, it lives in all of us. It's older than any of us. It's best understood as a personality, not a faculty. It has its aims and its temptations and its weaknesses.
When did Saruman the Wise abandon reason for madness?
It flies high and sees farther than any other spirit. But reason falls in love with itself, and worse, it falls in love with its own productions. It elevates them and worships them as absolutes. Lucifer, therefore, is the spirit of totalitarianism.
Against the power of Mordor, there can be no victory.
The wolf in sheep's clothing now goes about whispering in our ear that evil is really nothing but a misunderstanding of good and an effective instrument of progress. We think that the world of darkness has thus been abolished for good and all, and nobody realizes what a poisoning this is of man's soul. In this way he turns himself into the devil.
But your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Whether he understands them or not, man must remain conscious of the world of the archetypes, because in it he is still a part of nature and is connected with his own roots. A view of the world or social order that cuts him off from the primordial images of life not only is no culture at all, but, in increasing degree, is a prison or a stable. If the primordial images remain conscious in some form or other, the energy that belongs to them can flow freely into man. But when it is no longer possible to maintain contact with them, then the tremendous sum of energy stored up in these images, which is also the source of fascination underlying the infantile-parental complex, falls back into the unconscious. The unconscious then becomes charged with a force that acts as an irresistible fissure to go to whatever view or idea or tendency or intellect may choose to dangle enticingly before or desiring eyes. In this way, man is delivered over to his conscience side, and reason becomes the arbiter of right and wrong, of good and evil. I am far from wishing to belittle the divine gift of reason, man's highest faculty, but in the role of absolute tyrant it has no meaning.
The old world will burn in the fires of industry. The forests will fall.
Reason and progressiveness have broken down the carefully erected conservative walls of habits, traditions, and conventions of moral values which have led to the technology on a worldwide scale we haven't seen before.
How can fire do stone?
But our progressiveness, though it may result in a great many delightful wish fulfillment, piles up an equally gigantic Promethean debt which has to be paid off from time to time in the form of hideous catastrophes. For ages man has dreamt of flying, and all we have got for it is saturation bombing.
I think I'd rather ask you about the Jupiter missiles America are currently placing in Turkey.
We have forgotten our history, the lessons from the past, the traditions and principles from our forefathers, and by doing this we remain blind for the chaos and destruction that's coming our way. The de-Christianization of our world, the Luciferian development of science and technology, and the frightful material and moral destruction left behind by the Second World War have been compared more than once with the eschatological events foretold in the New Testament.
Takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Reason as a personality has helped humanity on its voyages and explorations of the material world. It has brought understanding to a question set forth by the rational mind about certain aspects of nature. It has shined lights in unknown darknesses of the world, as if Prometheus stole the fire of the gods and has given it to humanity in the form of technology, knowledge and civilization. But by intensifying our rational minds to eliminate our understanding, it has also darkened our insights on the more important parts of human existence.
You gave me the power to defeat my demons and to live within the natural law.
We never lose our demons, Mordor. We only learn to live above them.
The capacity of the rational mind to deceive, manipulate, scheme, trick, falsify, minimize, mislead, betray, prevaricate, deny, omit, rationalize, bias, exaggerate and obscure is so endless, so remarkable that centuries of pre-scientific thought, concentrating on clarifying the nature of moral endeavor, regarded it as positively demonic.
Now, you know the only thing that kills a demon love. That's why I know that Mallory's my salvation. She was teaching me how to love.
I forgive you, baby.
Yeah. It was just like being in the Garden of Eden.
The first hand in The Lord of the Rings is about power, the last hand shows the opposite. The idea dawned on me that Eros and the power drive might be in a sense like the dissident sons of a single father, or the products of a single motivating psychic force which manifested itself empirically in opposing forms, like positive and negative electric charges. Eros as a patient, the power drive as an agent, and vice versa. Eros makes just as great demands upon the power drive as the latter upon the former. Where is the one drive without the other? On the one hand, man succumbs to the drive, on the other hand, he tries to master it.
Saruman believes that it is only great power that can hold evil in check. But that is not what I have found. I found it is the small things, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keeps the darkness at bay. Simple acts of kindness and love.
Only love can kill the demon.